All right, broski, it's T-Mon, and I'm back with another video. It's on Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness. I saw a video just popped up now. It says building strength versus demonstrating strength. So I have to do a quick video on this one. Yeah, man, we have got to review this.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about building strength versus demonstrating strength, because it's something that we do have to talk about if we're going to discuss strength and strength standards and all of that. All right, building strength is largely about building muscle mass, right? Maximizing hypertrophy.
So building strength is about building muscle mass and maximizing hypertrophy. Whoa, so that is building strength. Well, he says strength is lifting a heavy weight. Hold on, I gotta go back and reference this, man, because if you go PubMed, it says myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength, but not the mass of the limb muscles. Well, what controls the mass of the limb muscles? See what I mean? In other words, you are born with a set of androgen receptors. They're attached to your muscles. You go lift some heavy weight, and your body will give you an adaptation in more receptors if you keep lifting more weight. But getting real mass on that myofibrillar, oh, that's something special. That's something different. Because it says it is not responsible for the mass on the limb muscles. And we all know that testosterone binds with that androgen receptor. So if testosterone binds with that androgen receptor, giving you this strength, all of you think that testosterone will build a muscle, but in fact it says, but not the mass of the limb muscles. Yeah, man.
And then working on your neural drive by learning to lift really, really heavy. Okay? Now, there can be a degree of overlap because obviously done with enough volume, heavy lifting can stimulate significant muscle growth. And
heavy lifting could stimulate muscle growth. No, it can't do that. He's lying to you. No. You see, if muscle is going to gain any mass, protein synthesis must exceed that protein breakdown. While it is in resistance training, it is a powerful stimulus for protein synthesis. It is also important to recognize that it is a signal for protein breakdown. It is a signal for protein breakdown. But that lifting is a signal for protein synthesis now. There is a signal there. There is a signal there to get some of this. Definitely. But it isn't lifting the weight.
And even to some extent, taking your big exercises close to failure can still have some neural drive carryover. Right? In other words, doing a heavy 8-rep set of benching, if the last rep is really heavy, and you probably couldn't do a 9th, well, that is going to have some carryover. Right? There's going to be some similarities there in terms of the neural adaptation. And people do have
the neural adaptation. Well, they tell you here it's myocytic androgen receptor controls the strength, so it doesn't say anything about neural adaptation, but there is a type of adaptation when it comes to motor units. Hold on a second. Let's see what pops up here. Muscle motor unit, neuroscience. Muscle units and muscle receptors. Yeah, they used to have a better one. I can't find it right now. I used to have it on my old channel. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look through the whole thing again. Oh, this one is massive. Maybe it's PubMed. Hold on a second. Neural drive. Motor units defined as a motor neuron and all of its associated muscle fibers are the basic functional units of skeletal muscle. Yeah, they're defining it here, motor unit, too. The role of a motor unit. Role of motor unit structure in defining function. Motor units defined as a... Okay, we just read that part, okay. Their activity represents a final output of the central nervous system. Okay, so there's a central part. It's coming through your spine, from the brain, spine, whatever. And extremities, yeah, I know I did this before, man. I should post this on my community section. So, yeah, they proliferate through the muscle fibers, the motor units. It's for example, if you have damage in your nerves, you won't be able to lift anything heavy. Though if you have stenosis or something banging on the nerve, or there's poor cord signal, you will feel a weakness. You won't be able to move something or lift something. You could say that is a weakness, but it's a, I would call it a handicap or a disability or an inability to do something, a prevention from you lifting something heavy. If you have some neurological problem, food can cause neurological disease, and that could give you a weakness. A lot of people suffer from that because they're eating food that is toxic, and you'll lose this neural output definitely. Just I wanted to mention that, man. Let's go back to the video.
People do have to understand that. They have to remember that. That there's a large amount of overlap there. But I think one of the big things that we have to think about when building strength is that we really are trying to get as big as possible, right? I'm not even talking about
Building strength, we're trying to get as big as possible. No, these lifters that equate this as strength, not being bigger, being big and being strong, but lifting a heavy weight strong, they're equating that with, well, androgen receptor strength. In other words, is a woman who lifts a car off her child, is she strong in an emergency because she got some hormone release from her, whatever, her brain released some adrenaline. This adrenaline is a very powerful hormone to lift that car, a 6,000 pound car, off that child. Is she strong or is it temporary? See what I mean? So our steroid strength, when they bind with the androgen receptor, giving you more force production, is that temporary? See what I mean? Is it temporary? You have to keep taking it.
Training strength, because the other would be training strength. But to build your strength base, you need to get thick, right? We have to gain.
Here's another thing. If you don't practice at this lifting strength, it says, I can bring it up to, I'm not going to bring up everything in Google. You could type it yourself. Within 10 days, this lifting strength goes away. That's why some people come to the gym and they said, yesterday I could squat 500. Today I could barely do 225. You understand me? Because that strength is imaginary strength. It's a fake molecule neurological strength based on neurons, motor units, these neurons, and androgen receptors and androgens binding to them. That kind of strength to lift that something. So it can go rapidly, it can come and go. But muscle, if it was truly built, the mass from proteins, I don't talk about sarcoplasmic or inflammatory muscles or whatever, lactic acid bullshit, whatever, man. I'm talking about real stuff. You will be very strong. You definitely will be strong because you've got more motor units to attach to these things. They widen. They're like, how should I put it? If that mass on that myofibrillar gets bigger, then that myocytic androgen receptor becomes like a black hole. That receptor widens. So now it can absorb more of these molecules in it, giving you more force production. If you really build real muscles, but if you build sarcoplasmic muscles, it's a fluid. There's nowhere for the androgen receptor to bind, therefore there's no more force production. That's why a lot of people say, these power lifters, I'm getting bigger, but I'm not getting stronger. Why? I'm getting a bigger, but I'm not getting a stronger. Why aren't you getting a stronger? Because you're getting a bigger, because you're getting fluidic muscles called sarcoplasmic muscles. You're not getting muscles that are based on protein synthesis, proteins. You understand me? You're not building myofibrillar growth. You are building sarcoplasmic growth and some bullshit lactic acid and inflammatory response muscles. Now you understand when they're complaining, I got bigger, but I didn't get stronger. That is the reason. You have to get more, the fiber is either getting bigger or you get more fibers where the androgen receptor can bind to it. It can either widen, get bigger, or you get more of them. And then you get more of this force production. You're able to increase the load and get more of this force production, getting more adaptations, and so forth and so on. Yada, 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 yada. Bro, if you're a professional coach, you must know these things. But I'm telling you, he is not a professional coach because he doesn't know these things. These things come from experience. It's like the repeat about effect. If you want things to change, then you have to do something different. But he's always doing the same thing. So there's no change. You understand me? He's stuck in the repeat about effect. Yeah. In order to get change, you have to do something different.
Muscle mass, and it's largely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant that there's some person out there who pound for pound is really strong. That does not change.
There are people that are out there pound for pound that are strong, especially a person born and he's like 7 feet tall, a giant. He's a big man. He's going to have a lot of androgen receptors. He's got more mass on his body. Therefore, he's stronger than the average person walking in the street.
Your structure, your biomechanics, anything else. And I think what people often fail to realize, the majority of these guys who are very strong, for their body weight, they're usually really short. And that's very obvious basic physics, and then you get around them and you realize it. And we see that even with some of the influencers and stuff.
Nobody is scared of Jason Blaha in the street. Nobody even cares about him. Nobody knows that he lifts these weights. Nobody knows. He's just some guy in this little garage on YouTube lifting a weight. Nobody knows him really. Very few people, and they're just online. They're trolling around. They heard about him or seen him or something. I don't even care about Jason Blaha. I don't talk about him in the real world. You understand me? Just when I'm here on my phone, online, making a video. That's about it. Something for educational purposes, something for you to ponder. But if you can't really understand what lifting, weightlifting, bodybuilding, this powerlifting and power building is fake. It's all made up. The original word is weightlifting and bodybuilding. That's it. There isn't anything else. Now you can call it Olympic lifting. That is weightlifting. They've always called it weightlifting. That is Olympic lifting, is weightlifting. There's only two modalities: weightlifting and then there's bodybuilding. That's it. There's no powerlifting, bodybuilding. Makes no sense. Power lift. I'm gonna power lift that. You could call it that. You know what I mean? But it's made up.
And again, there are exceptions because there are guys who are just that good. I mean, John Hack would be an exception, obviously. But I'm not talking about that here. I'm not talking about these outliers. I'm talking about on average. And so, for example, if a guy is 5'4", the guy looks really stacked in pictures or video for his body weight. You're like, man, that guy only weighs whatever. Well, he's probably really short. But we see that with the influencers, particularly, the bodybuilding side. You see that most of them are a lot shorter than you think they are till you meet them. On average 3-4 inches shorter than you expect them to be. So what happens accordingly? Well, obviously they're able to be stronger. Why?
He thinks that a short guy is stronger than a big guy. What? A little man is stronger than a big man. Oh my God.
Because a larger percentage of their body weight, that same body weight would be muscle tissue. Their skeleton weighs less. It takes less room to fill their frame out. And then they're moving the weight a shorter distance. Okay, in other words,
no 5'4" guy like Jason Blaha is going to be stronger than some guy that's 7 foot 5 inches tall or 2 inches tall with a bunch of mass on his body. And I can show you videos. I should put them on my community section. You'll laugh. When big people walk in public.
You need less total muscle mass to bench whatever.
I mean, they look domineering. Even Joe Frazier looks domineering when he walks in public because he's 6'4". It's slightly above average. Come on.
15.
And probably with his shoes on, they probably give him an extra 1.5 inches or maybe 2 inches for all they know, his running shoes. So he's like at 6'6" walking around practically.
If your arms are 4 inches shorter than if they were 4 inches longer, right? It is simply an easier lift from a biomechanics perspective, from a distance moved. You learn to arch a little bit on top of that. you can cut that range of motion way down. All right, the range of motion absolutely matters when it comes to strength and how much weight you can move. There's a reason powerlifters go out of their way to cut so much range of motion.
Yeah, it's all relative. Look, powerlifters, weightlifters are better than powerlifters, bro. They just perform much better. Yeah.
So on that topic,
Well, I've seen these weightlifters make fun of powerlifting, and they make it like it's just a joke sport because it's a spin-off of it. It's a spin-off. Power building is what you would call it. It's a spin-off from bodybuilding because it's just bodybuilding. That's why powerlifting is a spin-off from weightlifting. It's fake. It's not real. It's how should I put it? It's like a second arm. I don't know.
if we're trying to demonstrate strength, when we're demonstrating strength, it's usually a comparative analysis between you and someone else. It is compared to another person. So then rules are standardized.
Just announced.
Yeah.
Guaranteed approval credit cards for bad credit. Get a high limit no matter your credit score.
Between you and someone else. It is compared to another person. So then rules are standardized, right? You're competing on the same lift. So for example, obviously if you want to compare bench presses, they need to be paused, not bounce. Butt needs to stay on the bench, so on and so forth, right? You have to have similar rules or else you can't compare.
Yeah, if you're demonstrating, you're comparing. Okay, I've seen these bodybuilders with the strongman or something. They put a rope, they gave it to a tiger. The tiger was pulling the rope. He pulled all 10 of them or something. Does that mean the tiger's stronger than all these men? Of course. A gorilla, he's got the strength of 20 men. He could bench press 4,000 pounds without practicing. How is he able to do this? He doesn't have to practice at bench pressing 4,000 pounds, a gorilla, but he can do it. And he has the strength of 20 men. Why? Because he has more muscle fibers. He was born with them. You will always be small and weak. You're human. You have a certain amount of muscle fibers, and that's it. Okay, but these adaptations to moving a heavy weight, you still have a weak body because it's small. Jason Blaha has got a small, tiny body. I don't care how much he could lift, 500 pounds or whatever. An animal in the wild would eat him for lunch. Get it? They don't give a shit how much he could lift.
The strength of two people. How much force are they producing? Well, accordingly, once you have the rules in place for your demonstration of strength, because
if I were you, I would try to get my body as strong as possible and then focus on some of these lifts and things in the end when you do that. Again, success is a short window if you want to build your body. It happens relatively quick. It can't happen slow. It can't happen in waves. It will never work for you. You'll be going there forever to a gym, chasing something that's elusive. I see people there. I come back a couple months later. They're still there. They look even worse than when I saw them to begin with most of the time. They just look nothing. And then they turn their heads and they start staring at me and they go, hey, here's that guy. Hadn't seen him in like 5 months. Where the hell he been? Fuck, he still looks built and this and that. He looks better than us. What's going on here? And he's an old dude. He's practically pushing 60, but he's better than us. And I can still lift heavy. You understand me? I still look good. I don't have any issues, bro. Yeah.
if we remove any rules, then, before long, people are lifting 1,000 pounds on a lift that in a standardized environment, they can only lift 600. Right? If we just remove all standards, an above the knee rack pull, for example. Guys up here doing above the knee rack pulls with 800 pounds and straps, who can't can barely deadlift 500 if that, right? So what I mean is we need some standardization, obviously. But then once people standardize it, if you're going to demonstrate strength, you're going to game the system. Okay, if your goal is to hit the biggest lift possible, you're going to say, what can I do to cut range of motion? What can I do to take the muscles out at their worst leverage positions? Well, on a bench press, for example, that's when you touch the chest. The further your pecs are stretched, the lower your elbows go, guess what? Pecs at a mechanical disadvantage. Now, that's great for building muscle, but It's not so great if your goal is to lift as much weight as you can possibly lift. You want to reduce that. You want to keep those elbows higher. You want to find positions to get the elbows higher.
What the hell is he talking about?
Do any means necessary. That means arching, finding a grip width that helps
Whatever.
mechanical disadvantage. So if your goal, if the rules say you got to hit parallel, well, when you find a stance and a position that allows you to bend the knee the least.
Okay, he's talking about competition, and they do a lot of cheating, bending their back, this, that, for bench pressing. There's a lot of bullshit going on there. The sport is so crap, man. Powerlifting is so shitty.
Your hips reach parallel with less range of motion. Your hip to build those quads up. Right? So people see where we're going with this. This is where size versus strength breaks down. This is where
Size versus strength. If it's real size, real muscle, then you're going to have a lot of strength. And that weight is going to feel light because you're going to have permanent androgen receptors that have to bind to that muscle fiber. Those ones aren't going to go away. You understand me? And these motor units have to proliferate through the new fibers that you built. The mass, the fibers, whatever. But not if it's fucking fake artificial muscle growth, sarcoplasmic, or inflammatory response muscles, lactic acid.
training for size versus training for strength breaks down. And these demonstrations.
Training for size, training for strength. You're training for strength. If you're training to build size, you are training to build strength. You are training to get bigger. Therefore, when you get bigger muscles, you get stronger. It isn't the opposite. I get stronger and then I get bigger muscles. No, it doesn't work like that. First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the woman. You don't get the money. You don't get the go for the woman and then get the power and then get the money. It's not the opposite. Get it? It doesn't work like that in the real world, man. It's crappy bullshit, bro.
Because size will always raise your strength ceiling. But then you got neural drive and technique. You do probably
Yeah, so what? It'll always the muscle size will always drive the strength. What are you talking about? Of course it does. This guy's insane, man.
to practice these more advantaged positions.
Whatever.
Demonstrating it later. Leverage advantages. Well,
Leverage advantage.
if you're trying to maximize strength. So understand what the difference is. Understand what the difference is here.
I understand it quite well, man. I don't know if you
Because this is an
understand it.
important distinction.
Here's the question. I understand these modalities, but does he understand it? No, he doesn't. He doesn't even prove anything that he says. So me personally, like I said, my videos are just for education purposes only. You can believe it, not believe it, believe it. Like I said, this is just for entertainment purposes only. I don't know anything. Don't listen to me. I don't know anything. Like, subscribe, support the channel. Helps the algorithm if you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one. Ciao, friends.